Mangwana ni Mwalele Povu Kenjani, Savannah Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Glenora Shupura. It is the 27th of March. How are you, Glen?
I'm doing very well. Kora?
Now,
oh wow, he's getting good at it.
I do the best I can. I do the best I can. I started with the surname and I've been building from there.
Yes, you have officially become the honorary Herero.
I do the best I can.
Well, let's take a look at what you can expect in today's broadcast. South African Parliament accepts no confidence motion to remove Mapisa-Nqakula as Speaker. Ghana seeks to speed up debt restructuring negotiations, and South Sudan on the brink after oil exports derailed by Sudan's civil war. We'll also be talking to Arrie Hougaard, who will be filling us in on the latest news in Mzansi.
We start our top stories in South Africa, where National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula is set to face a motion of no confidence amid allegations of corruption against her. Mapisa-Nqakula's deputy Leshesa Tsenoli acceded to a request to Democratic Alliance Chief Whip Siviwe Gwarube proposing the speaker's removal from her position. Now, Gwarube cited various allegations of improper conduct in the motion, which was submitted last week in terms of Section 54(2) of the Constitution. Now, on Tuesday, Parliament confirmed that Tsenoli wrote to Gwarube advising her of his decision to accept her proposed motion as being substantively in order. In line with the rules of the Assembly, the acting Speaker must give an approved motion under this rule due priority. Before scheduling it, he is also required to consult with the Chief Whip of the Majority Party as required by Rule 28(5).
In our next story, Ghana wants to speed up remaining debt restructuring negotiations, its finance minister said on Tuesday, as the government pushes for a deal to rework over $13 billion of international bonds. The West African country has been overhauling its debt as it tries to emerge from its worst economic crisis in a generation with the help of a $3 billion International Monetary Fund program. The government reached a deal in principle in January to restructure $5.4 billion of loans with official creditors. It has since started formal talks with one bondholder group under non-disclosure agreements. Reuters reported about 2 weeks ago, citing sources familiar with the situation. Finance Minister Mohamed Amin Adam told a news conference that the government had received counter-proposals from 2 bondholder groups that will be assessed.
Now, violence and insecurity could worsen in South Sudan after one of its key oil pipelines to international markets, which passes through neighboring Sudan, was damaged last month, according to experts. The incident occurred in early February in Sudan's White Nile state, prompting the Dar Petroleum Oil Company to suspend loadings. The rupture happened in an area controlled by Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, which is fighting the Sudanese army for power in the country. A team of technical experts has been unable to fix the pipeline due to ongoing fighting, raising fears that Sudan's political economy could collapse.
Swinging over to East Africa, Kenya's government on Tuesday began handing over to the relatives the bodies of 429 members of a doomsday cult at the center of a legal case that has shocked the country. Exhumed bodies from a vast rural area in coastal Kenya have shown signs of starvation and strangulation. Cult leader Paul Mackenzie is accused of asking his followers to starve themselves to death to meet Jesus and now faces charges that include murder. Authorities are using DNA testing to help identify bodies and their families. On Tuesday, the first bodies were handed over to relatives. Emotions ran high at the Malindi mortuary as families collected loved ones for reburial. Some wailed overwhelmed. Mackenzie and dozens of his associates were charged in February with the torture and murder of 191 children. The trial begins on the 23rd of April. Interior Minister Kithure Kandiki has declared Mackenzie's Good News International Ministries a criminal organized group. Mackenzie is serving a separate one-year prison sentence after being found guilty of operating a film studio and producing films without a valid license.
Now, Ethiopia's largest bank says it has recovered almost three-quarters of the $14 million it lost in a glitch that allowed customers to withdraw more money than they had in their accounts. Abe Sano, head of the Commercial Bank of Ethiopia, said yesterday that about 10 million has been recovered. Thousands of customers returned the cash voluntarily. Sano warned those who had not will face criminal charges. Most of the money was withdrawn by university students. On 16 March, news of the glitch spread across universities, largely via messaging apps, and phone calls and long lines were seen at campus cash machines. Stay with us as we talk to Arrie Hougaard after the break about the news stemming from South Africa. Now, the MK party of former South African President Jacob Zuma has won the first round of legal battles in the electoral court against the African National Congress. Here is Arrie Hougaard with that story and more. Good morning, Arrie.
Yes, very good morning, Ashwin and everyone. Yes, it's election time coming up. It's 62 days to go, so it's getting quite close. So intensity heats up. That's some of the campaigns. That's the ANC rally. Yes, it was in the court, and it briefly goes back to the ANC challenging the registration of the MK party. That was late last year in September, but they waited too long. The court said they dismissed it. They had a prescribed 3 days to come to the court to challenge the membership of the MK, but the ANC didn't. They failed to explain why they waited so long. The reason why they waited so long was that it was only announced in December that former President Jacob Zuma will be part of the MK party, and that changed it altogether. The new battle now is, you can see the emblem there on the T-shirts of those supporters. It's about the MK party emblem. That's a new fight in court now today and this week. The spear is on the MK party is a little bit higher than the MK logo of the ANC. The historical MK logo, that was the spear, was a little bit lower. That's the only difference, but that's in court now. And so the ANC say that they're taking the logo as well. The MK party say the spear is in a different position. So let's see if how that will play out. But there's lots of infighting there. The reality on the ground at the moment, Western Cape polls suggest that there might be a coalition on their way in the Western Cape. The DA has been ruling. They got 54% in 2019. It might be below 53%, they say, and then if all the other parties come together, there might be a coalition ruling the Western Cape, so that might be interesting as well. Then the EFF, they said in their new statement, they said they promise a more ethical government, so that's the interesting statement, looking at all the history of the way they're doing politics for the last 5 years.
Well, to keep us posted how it all eventually plays out. Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa has welcomed the United Nations Resolution 2728 related to a call for a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Can you get into this?
Yes, South Africa has been very involved. Obviously, the court case that South Africa had success in, that was in the International Court of Justice. So South Africa is very involved in this case, and it is a statement that President Ramaphosa said that he welcomes that. He quote-unquote said, stop the carnage and walk a path of peace. So hopefully that is resolution 2728. That's President Ramaphosa with President Biden. So the relationship between the USA and South Africa have been frosty, to say the least. At the moment, they describe it as bilateral. So obviously, there's been a relationship economically for quite some time. But the USA did challenge South Africa in their stance in this. But it remains a sad situation. Coming back to the elections, many political parties now challenge the government and say, listen, okay, that's all good enough. We get success over in Israel and Gaza. But what about, for instance, all the gang violence in South Africa? 20 people die a week, more than 1,000 annually, and there's no real intensity in fighting that, for instance, that gang violence. Talking about stop carnage, walk away, a path of peace. It needs to be applicable for gang violence in South Africa as well.
Indeed, now the Minister of Higher Education, Blade Zimbande, remains very critical of some private higher education institutions, as many lost their registration with the Higher Education Department. Please tell us more.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's still early, fairly early in the year. There's 13,000 students affected. There's 20 campuses. It is under the umbrella of EduCon. EduCon hosts higher education or private study options for Dameland, also City Varsity and Lucian. And it is the notion from the Government Gazette from there is the Minister Blade Zimbande. So it is they deregistered, and it is got to do with not supplying financial statements, financial reports in certain years, 2021, 2022 as well. So it is 20 campuses that's affected 13,000 students. So hopefully they can sort it out. They say the statement from the government is that they need to phase out these students up till 2025. So hopefully they will be able to finish the year. That's the hope at the moment. But it's costing them 70,000 rand a year to study most of these courses. So it's not good news. Good news, a little good news, is that the Rhodes University is celebrating 120 years. That's coming up, and they celebrating that. They had Alex Moraine and also Chris Harney that studied there, and also Alan Gray, the investors. So Rhodes University at least doing well.
Now, in the last of your stories, South Africa hopes to soon have the longest, subsea fiber cable in the world to reach the southern tip of Africa and to supply 4 access points along the South African coast.
Yes, it was quite in the news in Namibia as well, when it's tough when those Wi-Fi signals go all of a sudden. There was damaged lines. It was, you can see that's the lines, they're quite big, but in the context how it got damaged was quite crazy, to say the least. It was a cargo ship that was attacked by Houthi rebels, and they dropped their anchor, and it damaged the line. So, I mean, the odds of that is not very high. But the reality is that they do get damaged. This line, it's from to Africa, they call it, it's 45,000 kilometers. It's all the way from the UK, all the way around Africa, up to the Mediterranean countries. So there will be 4 access points into South Africa. Well, there's already 4 access points that's linked. It's not active yet. They're phasing it in. It's been happening for the last 2 years. So it's a massive process, and obviously that will make a big difference. It is Meta, the partner of Facebook, and also Vodacom and MTN that's also involved there. So they say that it will be 3 times faster at times. So we'll hope to see that, at least then there's Wi-Fi. So that's the South African news. So hopefully that will be good news for the whole of Africa. They say this cable will impact the whole of Africa. There's contact points all over Africa.
Fingers crossed on that one. Thank you very much, Arrie, for bringing us the news stories from South Africa. Let's head over to the weather predictions. We are all seeking connection to each other, to the world, to the spaces we exist in.
Is het van Seidel, maar dan kom uitrol hier van die positie.
Seems like poor
sportsmanship right now from the lads.
You might be physically ready, your body is ready, but mentally.
Here's another chance, and it is a goal from Vindo Kahana.
Sy sê wie is er aan neertrek en daai bal het my grond gevat. Ja, hy het grond gevat en is
But just enough next.
Running that mountain up. Okay, so we will be doing this for the mountain climber. More advanced, slightly advanced.
So is jou trolley reg? Want
I love it. I love it. So then
kickstart our countdown at number 5 with this one. Op Netwerk TV se Klets Kompas gesels ons nuus van 'n Maandag tot Donderdag. Ons kyk ook na die weer en meer. Stories wat jou raak en stories wat saak maak.
They've made a mistake in denying me bail, and they've made several other mistakes in many other cases.
The channels that teach us something new or reflect our expression. So it goes beyond switching to the right station. It's about choosing the experience that can adorn the present, dressing it with our tastes as we expand our preferences, because what we are actually connecting to is boundless, limitless human energy. And this is the spirit of NTV. Getting into economic news, the Group of 7 initiative to create a single node location in Antwerp, Belgium, through which all diamonds should pass to verify G7 compliance, sparks a huge backlash across diamond producers in Africa. In December, the Group of 7 nations comprising Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK and US, in addition to the European Union, unveiled fresh restrictions aimed at stemming the influx of Russian diamonds into their respective markets. These measures entail a prohibition on direct imports of diamonds from Russia, effective of the onset of the new year. As of March 1, the sanctions were expanded to encompass Russian-origin diamonds that have been polished in a third-party nation. A blockchain-enabled traceability system is slated for implementation in the final phase. Now, European Commission specifying that diamond verification is to be conducted in Antwerp. Currently, diamond verification occurs within Africa.
Somalia is grappling with a devastating cholera outbreak, with Save the Children reporting over 54 deaths in recent months, marking the highest weekly death toll of 2024. This surge follows a year that already saw a significant health crisis, with Somalia recording more than 18,300 cholera cases in 2023. The outbreak is a direct consequence of the severe flooding that ravaged Somalia in October and November of 2023. The International Coordinating Group on Vaccine Provision has issued a call for immediate action to address an unprecedented surge in cholera cases worldwide. Since 2021, the situation has seen reported cases more than double from the previous year, with preliminary data for 2023 indicating further increases. The rise in cholera is attributed to persistent gaps in access to safe water and sanitation, exacerbated by climate-related factors, economic insecurity, conflict, and population displacement. Severely impacted countries include the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Ethiopia, Haiti, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Zambia, and Zimbabwe.
Those have been our economic news stories. Let's head over and have a look at the indicators just before Arrie returns with the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with tennis news first. It's a Miami Open that continues. The best players in the world, men's and women tennis players, in action in Miami. This is week 2. The finals will be played over the weekend. Not a good start for the week for the women's draw. That is for the top seeds. Already the number 2 seed, Aryna Sabalenka, out earlier, but now also number 1 seed, Iga Swiatek. She's out of the tournament. She lost to Ekaterina Alexandrova. She's the 14th seed, and it is Alexandrova that won 6-4 and 6-2. Also number 3 seed, Coco Gauff of the USA, also out of the tournament. She lost to Caroline Garcia of France, and the score there was 6-3, 1-6 and 6-2. So the number 1, 2 and 3 seeds in the women's division out of the tournament. Better news for Diane Collins. She's unseeded from the USA. She beat Sorina Cristia 6-3, 6-2 to be through to the round of 8. And also Victoria Azarenka also through to the quarterfinals. In the men's side of the draw, it is still the number 1, 2 and 3 seeds that is still in the tournament. They will play in the round of 16. That is Carlos Alcaraz, also Yannick Sinner and Daniel Medvedev. It is also the number 4 and 8 seeds that's through to the next round. Number 4 seed, Alexander Zverev. He beat Chris Eubanks of the US by 7-6 and 6-3. He's through to the round of 16. And then Hubert Hurkacz of Poland, the tough game he had against Sebastian Korda of the USA. He beat him in 3 sets also to advance. And moving on to cricket news, it's the Indian Premier League that started, the IPL. It is, most teams have only played one game, but it was the Royal Challengers Bangalore. They played their second game and they won that against the Punjab Kings by 4 wickets. And that was after they lost the opening game of the tournament against the Rajasthan Royals. It is the Royal Challengers Bangalore that do have a very strong batting lineup, and they're one of the favourites. They have Virat Kohli, the Indian captain, also Faf du Plessis of South Africa, and Glenn Maxwell of Australia. So all 3 of those batsmen playing for the Royal Challengers Bangalore. It was Virat Kohli that made runs for the Royal Challengers Bangalore against the Punjab Kings. It was the Punjab Kings that scored 176 for 6 in their 20 overs. And then it was the Royal Challengers Bangalore with 178 for 6. It was Virat Kohli that scored 77 runs off just 49 deliveries. As far as the bowlers, it was for the Punjab Kings, it was South African Kagiso Rabada that had a good day, but still in a losing team. But he bowled 4 overs, he got 2 wickets for 23 runs. And to conclude today's international sports news, it is rugby news. It's the Women's Six Nations tournament that started the past weekend. It was England, France and Scotland with victories in week 1. England beating Italy comfortably by 48 points to 0. Then France, they had a win against Ireland at home, and then Scotland a good away win for them against Wales. This coming weekend, the tournament continues, and it is 2 of the unbeaten teams. It's Scotland that will host France in the first game on Saturday. The second game on Saturday will see England that host Wales, and then on Sunday it will be Ireland that host Italy. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
All right, thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning throughout the broadcast. Let's have a look at the highlights. Parliament accepts no confidence motion to remove Mapisa-Nqakula as Speaker. That's in South Africa. Now Ghana seeks to speed up debt restructuring negotiations. And the new G7 diamond tracking system sparks fierce backlash across Africa.
And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday morning. From me, Glenn Rashipura.
And me, Ashwin Berry, Suraja Kanaga.